While Venezuelans starve, President Maduro struggles to maintain his grip on power, and a Chinese tech company is giving him the tools to keep tabs on every citizen. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest China news, and click the notification bell so you get an alert when we publish a new episode. Venezuela, the socialist paradise that has it all. Bonfires, outdoor fitness, and a great national weight loss plan. Plus, a lovable dictator who can dance his way into your heart. Who would want to oust him? No, seriously, tell me now, who wants to oust him? And to that effect, Venezuela, the country that has it all, now has one more thing to add to the list. Mass government surveillance. And guess which country is helping Maduro build it? Okay, you don't have to guess. It's China. In case you haven't heard, the Venezuelan economy has tanked. There have been mass protests against Maduro. And last month, this man, Juan Guaido, said Maduro is not legitimate and declared himself the country's interim president. Maduro does not agree. In fact, a major reason Maduro is still in power is thanks to the support from the Chinese Communist Party. There's the financial support, measured in billions of dollars, and of course, all the guns. Well, to be fair, a lot of those guns come from Russia too. Guns that may or may not be used in all those extrajudicial killings that are happening. And if that's not enough to help Maduro maintain power, the Chinese Communist Party has also provided him with the tools to recreate the same kind of mass surveillance system China has. In 2016, Maduro revealed this, a national identity card called the Fatherland Card. Surely a Fatherland Card couldn't be anything sinister. To be fair, Maduro almost called it the Happy Sunshine Rewards Card, but decided that would be even more sinister. Maduro has pushed the Fatherland Card hard, saying it's essential to build the new Venezuela, which, I imagine, still has Maduro as president. 18 million Venezuelans now have a Fatherland Card. That's more than half the population. And guess what? The Fatherland Card is actually a chip card created by China's state-linked company, ZTE. It's the same kind of smart card technology Chinese authorities use inside China to track people's social, political, and economic behavior. Just to give you an idea of what kind of wonderful company ZTE is, their largest stakeholder and largest client are both the Chinese government. And 2 years ago, ZTE was forced to pay $1 billion settlement to the U.S. Commerce Department after violating U.S. sanctions on Iran and North Korea. In fact, ZTE might right now be violating U.S. sanctions by working with the Venezuelan government. This is the trustworthy, upright company behind Venezuela's Fatherland Card. So, what does the Fatherland Card do? According to an investigation by Reuters, the Fatherland Card database stores such details as birthdays, family information, employment and income, property owned, medical history, state benefits received, presence on social media, membership of a political party, and whether a person voted. Does it know who you voted for? No, of course not. Would this guy deceive you? That man loves salsa, also dancing. But whether the Fatherland Card tracks who you voted for or not, it can definitely tell whether you're the type of good quality citizen who voted in last year's rigged election. You now also need the Fatherland Card to receive public benefits, like medicine, pension, and food relief. In fact, one 76-year-old diabetic told Reuters that a doctor refused to give him his insulin prescription because he didn't have the card. The doctor also called him right-wing. Remember, kids, if you don't do everything your socialist dictator asks of you, you're a right-wing menace to society. The story of the Fatherland Card dates back to Venezuela's first socialist visionary, Hugo Chavez. In 2007, voters rejected his bid to remove presidential term limits. And that's when Chavez had the idea for a national ID card to keep tabs on people. You know, to make sure people get all the government services they're entitled to. Yeah. And if anyone knows how to make sure people get what's coming to them, it's the Chinese Communist Party. A few months after Chavez failed to get term limits removed, he sent a delegation to China to learn how the Communist Party was using big data to monitor its citizens. Reuters spoke to one of the people on that original delegation. After being initially impressed, he began to have fears that there might be a teensy-weensy chance the technology could lead to government abuses of privacy. I know, that sounds pretty unfounded, and clearly it was, because when he brought up his concerns with Venezuelan officials, a few days later, several armed men kidnapped him, knocked several of his teeth out with their guns, accused him of treasonous behavior, and extorted money from him. You see, clearly the Venezuelan government doesn't need China's help to abuse power. In fact, the only reason it took about a decade for China to build Venezuela's national ID card was because it was too expensive and Venezuela first tried to get Cuba to build it. Yeah, you know you've got problems when made in China is too expensive. But the Cuban-built version never got off the ground, so China's ZTE was brought on as part of a $70 million government effort to boost national security. To oversee the distribution of food and services. Fun fact, Reuters found out that ZTE is using US-built data storage units made by American hardware maker Dell. Reuters reached out to Dell for comment. Apparently, ZTE is a client of Dell in China, but totally not in Venezuela. The joys of US tech companies doing business with shady Chinese companies. You never know where your products may end up. Meanwhile, as Venezuelans starve, they need to use their Chinese-made Fatherland Card to get food and medicine, assuming they can get past the police armed with Chinese-made weapons. So, what do you think of the ZTE-made Fatherland ID card? Leave your comments below. And before you go, now is the time when I answer questions from you, my loyal 50-cent army, fans of the show who support what we do through the crowdfunding website Patreon. Rodney Hall asks, Chris, your recent piece about Chinese food fraud both revolted and nauseated me. You're welcome. After taking some Pepto and doing some deep breathing exercises, it occurred to me to ask, what about all the imported Chinese food sold in the US? How likely is it that I could be buying food at redacted marked made with sewer grease? A stomach-churning question, Rodney. While I've never heard of sewer grease making its way into the US, Chinese imports have been cause for concern in the past. Between 2004 and 2007, an estimated 100,000 homes in more than 20 states were built with toxic drywall imported from China. Made-in-China toys are also sometimes toxic, as well as cheap jewelry. What about stuff you're actually supposed to put in your mouth? Well, China does export food like garlic, tilapia, and cooked chicken to the US, and the FDA has halted Chinese shipments in the past. I would say it's unlikely there is sewer grease in exported Chinese food products, but China does have a lot of food safety issues. And considering the degree of China's environmental pollution and water pollution, I wouldn't trust anything from China with an organic label. Thanks for your question, Rodney. If you'd like to hear your question answered on the show, sign up to support China Uncensored on the crowdfunding website Patreon. It's less than the cost of your daily cup of coffee. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time. Is the U.S. planning a coup in Venezuela? On the China Unscripted Podcast, we talk to founder of the satirical Venezuelan news show The Bipolar Capybara about what's really going on behind the scenes in Venezuela and China's role. Click here.